Hello and welcome to your art challenge pattern. Do me a favor and write your name and class at the top of the paper. There we go, beautiful. So this challenge involves creating a piece of art that demonstrates your understanding of pattern using a radial design. Let's take a look at an example of a radial design. Remember, it has that point in the middle, and then it is all the same to the north, to the south, to the east, to the west. It has that radial symmetry. North to the south, to the east, to the west. That is a radial pattern, and mandala is an example of a radial pattern. Radial design, rather. A regular pattern is a pretty predictable one. It's a combination of shapes, repeated in a regular arrangement. So, bird, fish, bird, fish, bird, fish. Okay, it's predictable and regular. We have a flowing pattern. Flowing pattern you can find in a lot of Aboriginal art like this. You've got curvy shapes and you have wavy lines here. Pretty cool. And the last one is a progressive pattern. So you have repeated elements but with regular changes, such as the circle. It's also a circle, it's also black, but it is gradually getting smaller and smaller and smaller. All right, so that was a quick review of the different patterns. Now, what you need to do is you need to make 3 thumbnail sketches of different ideas, one in each one of these. Remember, this doesn't have to be your best work. You're basically just getting your ideas down on paper. And as you're working, I do want you to circle which pattern you are trying to do. So, for example, if I'm going to start with a radial design, because I was really inspired by the mandalas that we took a look at. Okay, first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to make a little bullseye here so that it's kind of like a template for what I'm about to do. Let's see, north, south, east, west, some circles, adding some designs in there, maybe even radiating outside the exterior circle. North, south, east, west, that radial symmetry, and then just adding in some little patterns, just having fun with it. Now, when you're doing this, you're more than welcome to look at examples of mandalas to get some ideas for something that you might want to do. So there you go. My radial design is all done. So the next thing I'm going to choose is a flowing design. Here we go. So first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to make some flowing lines just going across the paper. Just having a bit of fun with it. They don't have to be exactly the same. And now I want to think about what might live inside those lines. Maybe I'll make some fish swimming in the water. Now remember, at this stage, I do not care about making a perfect drawing of a very realistic fish. What I'm doing is just getting some ideas on the paper. So the ideas of the flowing lines that represent water and some fish that maybe might be swimming in the water. For this next one, I thought it might be a fun idea to try a progressive pattern and maybe just make it totally abstract, just some geometric shapes, kind of drops like some diamond drops here, getting smaller and smaller as I go down the page. I'm just playing with the ideas, having fun with it, and seeing what happens. It's your turn to complete step 1. Pause this video and create 3 sketches. To finish step 1, you need to choose your favorite drawing and circle it. Your turn. Take a look. Which one is your best idea and the one that you can really imagine you developing into a final project? Circle it. Okay, and the next step is step 3. You need to find a friend to give you some suggestions. So the friend writes her or his name right on there on that line, and then she or he needs to give you something that they like. So for example, Lucia was saying that she really likes the way the fish are following the lines on there. She asked a question. The question was, am I only going to have this shape of fish, or am I going to develop the fish so it looks a bit more realistic? And then her suggestion was, why stop at fish? Why not add some other sea life in there as well? All right, it is your turn. Pause this video and complete step 3 with a peer reviewer. Okay, time for a second draft in step number 4. So I am going to incorporate Lucia's suggestion for me, and I'm also going to incorporate one of my own ideas in here as well. So you can see that the general picture is pretty much the same, but this time what I'm going to do is I'm going to add some other sea life because I thought that was a great idea. So as you can see here, I'm looking up some pictures of turtles and I'm adding some turtles in there. Now, one suggestion that I had for myself upon looking at it was I felt like the drawings were, the lines were a little bit too rough and sketchy in order for me to get a really good final drawing out of it. So this time I was a little bit more careful with my drawing. Pause this video to make your second draft. Make sure to incorporate one idea that was a result of your peer reviewer and one of your own ideas in there as well. So I should be able to see 2 little changes in your drawing. Now, if your peer reviewer gives you a suggestion that you are not crazy about, all you need to do is ask another person for a suggestion as well. If you're not crazy about either one of their suggestions, just raise your hand and I will come over and have a chat with you and we can figure it out together. Okay, so the next step is when you really have to take a look at your second draft in step 4 and imagine what it is going to look like with different media. So I was checking out the technique page for Sharpie in my sketchbook, and I'm imagining what would Sharpie if I do lots of different designs, maybe some cool Zentangles designs behind the turtles. What would it look like? What would happen if I do the turtles and the fish in watercolor? And I'm looking at the watercolor techniques sheet in my sketchbook as well. Once you have a good idea of what you want to do, circle them on your page. Just like I'm doing right here, I chose Sharpie and watercolor. Pause this video and choose your media in step 5. And then you need to write down what specific techniques you are going to use from that media. So for example, Sharpie, I'm writing down circle patterns and I'm also writing down some cross-hatching, but I'm leaving it kind of open because I think I want to do some Zentangles back there. And then for my watercolor, I take a look at my watercolor technique sheet and write down the specific technique that I am thinking about using for watercolors. Okay, it's your turn. Pause this video, look at a technique sheet, and write down the exact techniques that you are going to use. Alrighty then, on to step 7. Circle what size paper you're thinking about using. I'm choosing an A3. Drawing paper or painting paper. Since I'm using watercolor, I absolutely have to use a paint paper. Color is going to be white, and I would like mine to be a landscape. Pause this video and choose your paper. Almost done. What are the next steps that you need to make this project happen? Step 1, I want to do a little bit of research. I want to make sure that I have some turtle pictures and some fish pictures to use for inspiration. So I'm going to do some Google image searching for that. The next step, I still need to I'm going to imagine that I haven't done Sharpie techniques. So if I haven't done Sharpie techniques, I still need to do a technique sheet before I'm allowed to use that media on a final project. So just using that. And then step 3, I'm going to get my final paper and sketch it very, very lightly with pencil on that final paper. Very exciting. Okay, it's your turn. Pause this video and please write down your next steps. Do you need to do any research? Are there some techniques that are missing? Those are the things that you should be thinking about for step number 8. Once you're finished with step 8, take a look. Look over all of the 2 pages of this wild proposal. Make sure that everything is filled in. And then raise your hand and I will come to you and we'll have a little chat about your proposal. And once I sign it, then you are free to begin. Great job.